And we are back. So I'm not going to do any more intros because I've already done them. So we have Lindsay and Chris here from Hug Your Chaos and the Life Warrior. So I'm going to let them present to you. Over to you guys.
Hey guys.
Hello everyone and happy Beltane.
Yeah, how's everyone doing out there?
So here we are. Sorry for the delay. We got a little bit backed up, technical difficulties and the like. But here we are. We're here now, all in divine time, right?
Right on.
So we are here today to talk about divine masculine, divine feminine for this beautiful summit Cynthia has put together. And as a twin flame couple, we feel like it is part of our soul purpose and our soul mission in this lifetime to embody these qualities and help reawaken them in the surrounding world.
Absolutely. So, I mean, I guess just as an introduction, talking about the balance.
But you guys know who we are too.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as Cynthia introduced, we met each other across the ocean via Facebook, funnily enough.
Chris was in Australia and I was in California.
I was running in the Life Warrior Facebook page, and Lindsay left a comment on something I posted. And it was just like a house fire from there.
It really was. And about the week before we actually met virtually, I had been doing a lot of prayer work and meditation and manifestation work around finding my other half, essentially, because I had spent the previous about a year and a half really coming into connection with myself and coming to a place where I embraced my own divinity and my own divine feminine, because as we're going to get into briefly, I tend to be a very masculine female.
Which is funny because I tend to be quite a feminine male.
And that's one of the key points we want to talk about. And one of the key things, ideas behind the work that we do with Hug Your Chaos and Life Warrior is realizing that we first have to embrace the qualities of the feminine and the masculine within ourselves before we can then turn around and pass this on to the world.
Absolutely.
Right?
So as an individual, your spiritual journey will take you to a certain point, and you can do all of the work that you need to do to get you to that point. And for myself, as Lindsay was saying, up until a week before we met online, she was doing a lot of work within herself, spent my entire life walking a spiritual path and cultivating these aspects within myself. And I took my path as far as I could take it as an individual. You know, I got to that place where I had completely finalized the work within myself that I needed to finalize. And it wasn't until I met Lindsay that I was able to unlock the next levels that needed work.
Because what a very real thing happens when we come to sort of a plateau with the work with ourselves, we're then going to be given, you know, some opportunities and some chances to have these new experiences with other people that are going to continue that sort of evolution of growth as we awaken, and being in a relationship is going to, you know, ignite and trigger and awaken some very real things within us that we otherwise couldn't access on our own. You know, I could sit in meditation, you know, every day for a year straight, and I'm not going to access certain very, you know, deep-seated things that only open up when you're in a sort of conscious relationship, especially a twin flame relationship.
Because you need the mirror.
Because part of the soulmate or twin flame relationship path is the evolution of our souls. And I think there's a lot of damage that occurs, and sort of socially and culturally, which I know the speakers just before us touched on a little bit as well. And it's a very real thing that I hear often in the circles of people who do this energy work. For years and years and years, we have been so unbalanced towards the masculine. And it's not the divine masculine that has been taking charge, because it is not. And it's funny enough, because just in the last 2 weeks, I wrote 2 very poetic and sort of beautiful articles on masculine and feminine and what they look like. And you can find those on Elephant Journal. What has occurred as I'm sure many of us are aware, I don't know how many of us are consciously aware, but it's one of my favorite topics. There's been a very real oppression of the feminine. And because the masculine has been so unbalanced in the world, or not, it's been so, the pendulum is so far over here that the masculine has been in fear of the feminine. You know, we've been, you know, burnt as witches and oppressed and shut down for our healing powers. And
see, the reason being is because, and this is some of the work that we do with people, is when you recognize something within yourself, when you are gazing into a mirror and it reflects something back at yourself that you're not comfortable with, you're not ready to face, you don't want to deal with, you don't want to see inside yourself, you will crush it whenever you see it outside of yourself. So for an unbalanced masculine, when they're seeing feminine energy, they are going to oppress that feminine energy.
Because it's a very real threat.
It is. It's a threat because
the ego.
Ultimately, we grew up as warriors, you know, the masculine. We were swinging swords and axes at each other from the time we could walk. And for us to even consider the concept that there is half a female feminine energy, half divine feminine inside this
soft, vulnerable, nurturing, compassion energy inside of the male body.
That is unthinkable to, you know, to an unbalanced masculine energy. So ultimately what would happen is what did happen in the history of the earth. The masculine would crush and suppress the feminine so they didn't have to look at it within themselves. And I can tell you from a male point of view, walking the path where you need to examine and question and work with that feminine energy within yourself is not comfortable. It's a very uncomfortable process, but it is super necessary in order to completely embrace that sacred masculine warrior, which is a whole new redefinition of the term warrior. There's
been a very real, especially in, I mean, Western society, the, you know, and our parents, you know, who all meant very well in the way that they raised us. And it was just a different generation, and they came through a very different time. I know for me, you know, my father's line is Hispanic and Cuban through Cuba. And, you know, Hispanic men are very, you know, you keep a straight face and you put up and you show up and, you know, you go to work and you work hard and you don't show emotion and you don't get soft and squishy. And, you know, so that's, and that we see that across a lot of different cultures.
Right.
And what that does is it then continues this cycle of just oppressing to where, you know, the male can't, like Chris just said, is threatened by that female because they know that they're oppressing it in themselves, not consciously, but subconsciously. And what happens when we see a behavior in someone else with anything that we, and this is the root of our movement and our blog and our coaching at Hug Your Chaos, is that very thing that we seek to oppress in others is usually some shadow aspect of ourselves.
Absolutely.
That we want to shove down because we don't want to admit to it. For me, it looked like I watched girls when I was growing up who would sort of play the flirty, feminine, you know, helpless, oh my God, do it for me. You know, man, they'd, you know, and we all know, right? We know how to turn on our feminine charm when we need it. I mean, I've definitely done it, but I watched girls like this growing up, and I was like, I'm never going to be like that, because to me, it seemed weak in my mind and my internal dialogue and my belief system that had been instilled in me. That was weakness. So I developed a very tough, you know, and I embraced my masculine side and really sort of held it together that way. And it wasn't until we got into this beautiful relationship with each other that we were really able to start seeing these things in ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I remember early on in my journey, I do a lot of chakra work as well with my clients and with people, because there's a lot of healing to be done there. And when I first started practicing it on myself, and I got to the sacral chakra, there's a meditation you can do. You know, you get yourself into a meditative space and you begin to visualize your sacral chakra. And your sacral chakra is the seat of, you know, our creativity, our sexuality, and our balance of masculine and feminine energies. And in just a minute, we're going to talk about what masculine looks like and what feminine looks like. And what you do is, for most people, you know, right side is masculine, left side is feminine, and that can be different. There's no like black and white. This isn't law put in any, you know, book that it has to be this way. It's whatever your body tells you. And what you can do is as you're in that meditative state, you begin to picture two flowers, one for your masculine side and one for your feminine side, and ask them to show themselves to you. And what I saw for mine was, you know, two roses, and the one on my right side was very, you know, upright and firm and almost rigid. And the one on the feminine side, the left side, was all wilted and shriveled, and like it just hadn't gotten any love for a very long period of time. So I got in there and I started doing some really, you know, healing work and energizing work around that, and embracing my masculine side, where I allowed myself to be, you know, softer and more nurturing. And I realized that it was okay to do that, because how can I bring something to the world if I'm not embodying that? Right? Absolutely.
And I know for myself, my past, my history, my line has always been about fighting and warriorship. So I started martial arts from the time I was walking, and I moved through a lot of different, you know, martial training. I went into the military. I fought in ring and cage.
All the man stuff.
And I did that because I could feel that very soft energy inside myself, and it confused and scared me. So I needed to hop in and just thug on with people. I needed to belt people with my fists. I needed to be in a position where I was walking through the jungle with a rifle and camouflage and a heavy pack on my back, you know, and everything that I've done in my life has taken me towards trying really hard to suppress that soft energy. And it wasn't until I met this one.
And it's funny, wait, can I just say, when we met and he was telling me all these stories about this warrior that he was, and I was like, you're a cream puff. Because I could see it. I'm very, you know, empathic, and I can just read people like a book, and I could see through his hard shell, and he was so offended the first time I said that.
Yeah, I was trying to justify a lot of, no, I'm not. How can I be a cream puff? Look at what I am. Look at what I've done.
I've killed people, don't you know?
But it brings us to this point
where he's embraced it.
Yeah, completely. And there's just no threat there anymore. There's no threat from any other external aspect, because I have completely stood in and embraced both that masculine and that feminine softer energy. And now I'm able to work with those as a point of balance.
It's very, it's that, you know. And I'm just going to read you guys something. Instead of us talking about what the masculine and feminine looks like, I'm going to read you guys something.
Yeah. So we have done a couple of different articles on the blog regarding the masculine and the feminine, most recently with Lindsay's beautiful poetic pieces. But I've also done one previously where I speak about the imbalances in the energies. And is that what you were going to read, or? I was going to read the examples of what they look like in balance. Okay, cool. Right. Yeah, so I won't steal that thunder. It's probably going to. Well, and then we'll talk about what they look like when they're unbalanced as well, because it's a very real subject that needs to be talked about, so we can understand where we're at, and we can also understand, you know, as this pendulum swings and we go through this collective and global shift, how we need to be very careful not to swing so far over to, you know, the feminine side of things, where we're then oppressing, you know, the sacred masculine. Right, which would very much cause a similar effect to the history we've just come from, right, from the opposite side of things. Right, because we are, you know, there is a very real segment of men out there who feel as though, and not that they're against, you know, the feminine movement and stuff, but I read a really great article the other day written by a man, and he talked about how, and Chris talks about this a lot too to me, how in a very real sense, in a lot of ways, because we are, you know, stepping into so much power as women, that we are, in a sense, there's an area of men where they are being, you know, sort of demasculated, and they don't know where to. It's a very new, you know, sort of unforeseen ground that we're coming to. It is, and that's why I'm really grateful and honored to be able to offer that work, especially with my male clients, and, you know, some of the support groups that I've started, in being able to offer guidance in that respect, you know, from a male's point of view that has stood in both the feminine and the masculine energies and has brought them to a point of balance. And it's something that, like Lindsay was saying regarding the pendulum, as Cynthia introduced us, she made mention of a book that I have published recently, which is The Last Alchemist, and it's referring to the Hermetic alchemy universal principles. And ultimately, one of the principles, the principle of rhythm and the principle of polarity, they both state that when you have one opposite, if you go to the extreme of that opposite, the pendulum is going to swing back very hard and fast. And there's no way to control that. If you push to one side of the polarity, you're going to push back to the other side thanks to the principle of rhythm. However, the Hermetic principles also state that the master alchemists back in the day had the ability to move above the pendulum. It would still swing underneath them, but they would choose not to ride it. They could polarize themselves where they wanted to be. And we're now at a stage with our race where we have to make that decision to hop off that pendulum and stop swinging to these polar extremes and polarize ourselves at a point of balance in the middle. And we need to do it not just for ourselves, we need to do it for the planet, we need to do it for the other species, we need to do it for every single thing.
For the sake of humanity carrying on and
absolutely,
right.
For what is going to happen moving forward. So this ancient Hermetic wisdom is very applicable in this current day.
Right. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to share this with you guys because I think it's the perfect sort of expression of what masculine and feminine looks like. And did you want to read this one and I'll read the other one?
Sure. Okay. So this is the feminine. She is the one you want on your side, unconditionally loving. She stands fully in her power. They tell her she's too much, too tough, too independent, too loud, too brash, too masculine, too smart, too ambitious, too adventurous. They ask her, why can't you just settle? She is the one who will have your back through it all, not just in words, but in actions. She will tell it to you like it is, and you can count on her for the truth. She doesn't give a fuck about hurting your feelings either. And it's not because she doesn't care, but because quite the opposite. She cares too much. She sees in you what you can't see in yourself. So she pushes you to grow. She challenges you to the core, making you question the very foundation you have built your life upon. She holds up a mirror and stands tall and strong in the face of your resistance. She feels every bit of your pain through this struggle, but she holds back and doesn't try to fix it for you. She knows that in doing so, she would be depriving you of your own valuable lessons. She lifts you up but doesn't carry you. She teaches you how to use your own wings to fly because she wants you to succeed, to spread your wings and to blossom into the beautiful soul you're meant to be. She sparks a fire of inspiration in you. She fears no one because she sees through the illusion of separation, which seeks to divide us. She knows that in supporting others, she is supporting herself, and that in lifting others up, she too will rise. She stands firm in her purpose and her path, knowing that all is as it is meant to be. She walks through the darkness, the struggles, the laughter, and the judgments. She doesn't care what society tells her to be. From experience that this is futile, a never-ending spiral of constant dissatisfaction. She stays to heart about what they tell her life should look like. She doesn't hold anyone back. Enough for everyone. Jealousy doesn't exist for her. Insecurity is a distant memory. No one can threaten her because she knows her own divinity. She is as wild as she is tame. She is as hard as nails, yet soft and nurturing. She stands in peace, but can defend herself if needed. Don't let her peaceful gaze, loving heart, and open smile fool you. She is a lover and a fighter. She doesn't need a home with a white picket fence, prefers a tent in the woods and the open road in front of her. Give her the wide open sky over the bustling city streets. She wants to feel the dirt between her unmanicured fingers and toes as she runs naked through the woods. Not only does she push those around her to be better, to grow, to step into their full potential, but she pushes herself beyond where her socially programmed mind is comfortable going. She has stood in the face of criticism for years, and they told her to conform, calm down, smile, be more agreeable, settle, get married, have kids, get a real job. Stop resisting, be less angry, and don't argue. She's done, she's tired, she's officially stepping into her full power as a woman. And this alpha female will shut you down quicker than you can say, hey baby, rising. Believe me, you want her on your side. And I can tell you from experience that that is exactly what this lady here is, all of that. And that's what the divine feminine is. And although she is about to read you the male version of that, I can tell you that all you would need to do is substitute she and her for he and him in that, and you would have exactly the same thing, because when you're divine, masculine, sacred, feminine, the pendulum isn't swinging like that. It's
hanging in the middle.
It's hanging in the middle at a point of balance.
The person having the male experience on this earth in this existence just has, you know, the stronger physical prowess, while the woman has, you know, our brains do work differently in male and female bodies. You know, it is what it is. It's not a point of, you know, debate or contention, and I take no issue with anyone who is, you know, transgender or whatever, and whatever you identify with. But when it comes down to what body we are embodying existence, there are some very real differences that, you know, the male brain works different than the female brain, and we're able to see those things and stop inflicting what we think you should be acting like, and accept, you know, these very real differences, which is also a very necessary part of the healing that has to occur collectively. You know, there has to be, I've come to some realizations in some meditations where I realized a lot of my carried anger is because of the oppression of the feminine over the years, you know. Like, yeah, I'm angry. Of course I'm angry. You know, I've connected to some past lives where I've been, you know, burned at the stake for being a witch, and, you know, seen entire people get wiped out because I wouldn't back down from my beliefs. And, you know, that's a lot of oppression over many centuries that I think a very real healing has to occur. Just like racially, you know, and that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother day. But gender and race, there's very real, deep, collective healing that has to occur. And it's never going to happen if we don't talk about it.
Right.
So now I would like to read you this, and then we will talk briefly about what they look like when they're unbalanced. So he is the one. He is the one you want on your side, the divine masculine counterpart to your goddess rising. Unconditionally loving, he stands fully in his power and his strength. He doesn't seek power, but when given it, he does not wield it carelessly, but with reverence. Yet they tell him he's too sensitive. Too sensitive, too soft, too emotional, too kind, too respectful, too feminine, not ambitious enough, too ready to go
Okay, you want to mute what you're doing there? Can you just hit your mute button?
Sorry. That's okay.
No worries.
No worries. Yet they tell him he's too sensitive, too soft, too emotional, too kind, too respectful, too feminine, not ambitious enough, too ready to settle down. They ask him, why don't you explore your options and play the field? He is the one who will have your back through it all to love you unconditionally, not just in words, but in actions. He will tell it to you like it is, and you can count on him for the truth. He will bare his soul and his emotions to you, standing raw in all his vulnerable glory. He will sacrifice it all for you, and it's not because he is weak or a doormat, but because he cares so deeply for your well-being. He sees in you what you can't see in yourself, so he pushes you to grow. He challenges you to the core, making you question the very foundation you have built your life upon. He pulls you far out of your comfort zone as he intently gazes upon you with raw and open emotion. He holds up a mirror back to you and stands tall and strong in the face of your resistance. He feels every bit of your pain through this struggle, but he holds back and doesn't try to fix it for you. He knows that in doing so, he would be depriving you of your own valuable lessons. But he is the first to put out his arms to raise you up after asking if you would like his assistance, rather than assuming you need it. He knows you have your own power and strength, and he respects that rather than fearing it or trying to subdue it. He stands so firmly in his own divinity that he sees you as his equal and treats you as such, without undermining his own unique gifts. He knows you need each other, that without one, the other cannot exist. He lifts you up but does not carry you. He knows you are capable on your own, but he still can't wait to wrap you in his protective embrace. He encourages you to use your own wings to fly because he wants you to succeed, to spread your wings, and to blossom into the beautiful soul you were meant to be. This does not frighten him because he knows he sparks a fire of inspiration in you by standing in his own divine masculine power. He stands firm in his purpose and his path, knowing that all is as it's meant to be. He walks through the darkness, the struggles, the laughter, and the judgment. He braves the fires to become a better version of himself. When his ego does make an appearance, he can chuckle and lovingly own it because he knows it's a natural part of his existence. He doesn't care what society tells him to be. He has learned from experience that this is futile, a never-ending spiral of constant dissatisfaction. He stays true to his heart and could not give a damn about what they tell him, like everyone. He has stood face to face with his jealousy, and his insecurity is a distant memory. No one can threaten him because he knows his own divinity. He accepts help from you because he knows that alone he is never as strong as you are together. He is as wild as he is tame. He is hard as steel, yet soft and nurturing. He stands in peace, but can fight to defend if needed. Don't let his peaceful gaze, loving heart, and open smile fool you. He is a fighter, a warrior through and through, but first he is a lover. He doesn't need a big house or a bunch of cars. He prefers a tent in the woods and the open road in front of him and his arms around you. Not only does he push those around him to be better, to grow, to step into their full potential, but he regularly pushes himself beyond where his socially programmed mind is comfortable going. He has stood in the face of criticism for years as they told him to man up, conform, be strong, don't cry, win, take what you want, sleep around, be tough, stop being so soft, get a real job, be more aggressive, fight more, and don't lose. He's done. He's tired of the bad rap men have been giving men, and he's ready to bring a new breed of masculinity to us. He's officially stepping into his full power as a divine masculine warrior. And this alpha male will shut the unbalanced and lost little boys masquerading as men down quicker than they can say, hey, baby. He is the sacred masculine counterpart to the divine feminine goddess, and he is rising. Believe me, you want him by your side.
There was very little difference between the two. You can see substituting he for she.
Mm-hmm.
The pendulum's not swinging anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's down the line as a point of balance. And that's, so you want to talk quickly about an unbalanced?
Yeah, because that's part of the very real healing work that we're doing with Hug Your Chaos, is sort of getting people to talk about these areas that they would usually oppress. That's what it is when we talk about Hug Your Chaos. The chaos is those shadow aspects of ourselves, which are generally very linked to, our gender beliefs and, what social programming tells us is correct and wrong and right, and how we need to look and how we need to act.
Totally. And we've got about 5 minutes left, but I just wanted to say, with regards to that, Hug Your Chaos, you can't work on something if you don't recognize it. You can't work on something if you don't own it. If you refuse to accept within yourself that you may have something, be something, do something, you can't change it. You have to own something before you can do anything about it. Right.
If you don't know it's there, you can't heal it.
Absolutely. So, from the masculine perspective, unbalanced masculine is exactly what the history of Earth looks like. It's aggressive.
War.
It's controlling. It's warring. It's belittling to the feminine. It's tough, this tough exterior. It's aggressive. Did I say aggressive?
Yeah, no, it is though. It's exactly what, and we're seeing it in like all of its like worst aspects is in our faces right now. And this isn't an accident. It's not an accident that Donald Trump is our president in America and that he's running around, saber rattling and sword fighting and beating his chest like a freaking gorilla, in the face of all these other world leaders, because this is the embodiment of it is like the apex, the boiling point of the unbalanced masculine that has been, oppressing the feminine. And without this pressure coming to a head, it's never going to, sort of erupt and push us upwards into what we need to embrace.
Even I mean, look, this is not a political discussion.
No, at all.
By no means. But even the belittling comments that he has made towards women in the past are just, it's definitive example of unbalanced masculine energy.
And that's not divine.
And there's nothing sacred or divine about that.
It's just the extreme of what that is. And, the feminine can very much go that way too.
Yeah.
To where, when it falls out of balance, so it stops being the divine feminine, and it's like this version of feminine energy over here, which is, it's passive, it's catty, it's bitchy, it's all of these behaviors that come up for us as women because we've been oppressed for so long. And it's or the other extreme where we see, the feminine movement growing, and it become almost so. And I had a little bit of this in myself too, where it was like, oh yeah, you know, I had very real moments of being sort of a man hater, you know, where I was pissed at men, you know, and I like F them and I don't need them. And how is that going to bring balance, you know? And I had to take a very real look at that in the beginning of my journey towards healing.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
right. We've got about 2 minutes left.
So I think that's about all we're going to cover, because if we go in depth to anything
yeah,
else,
we don't want
we'll
to
run over time.
Yeah.
But we do very real work with both men and women.
And couples.
We do it as together, as a team, and we also do respective.
Like
so,
individually.
Yeah. So Lindsay will work with both men and women. I will work with both men and women, and together we will work with men and women.
We do with couples too, to get them embracing, because there's a very real element to staying it out to see what the growth is in the relationship, instead of just running away when it gets challenging. And that's where the conscious relationship comes from, and that's where the healing is going to start to come from. And if we can do that within ourselves, we can give that out to the world and teach the world and help the world come to balance. Or, you know, if we're evolving into the fourth dimension, so be it, you know?
Absolutely.
So we'd love if you guys came by the blog, hugyourchaos.com, thelifewarrior.net. Come see us. We love hearing from you know, people.
And if you're interested in pursuing a little more of that hermetic wisdom and the universal principles that I was referring to throughout our chat, check out my book. It's written as the form of a novel, but the wisdom in it's just absolutely paramount. It's The Last Alchemist. It's available on Amazon, Barnes and Noble. I mean, it's out there in the marketplace. So it's The Last Alchemist by C. John Sawyer. That's my pen name. So check that out as well.
And just take a moment today. You know, guys, it's Beltane. This is like the ultimate day of the joining of the masculine and feminine for recreation and creative sparks. This is where it all starts. So, you know, honor that today and connect with that. You know, sit in meditation, light a fire, burn some things that don't serve you any longer, and embrace those shadow elements of yourself.
Totally.
Thank you all for joining us. Cynthia, thank you for having us on here and putting this together. Kelly and Doran, thank you. We'll see you guys soon. Namaste.
Bye, guys.
See you later.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us. My name's Kelly Kingston. I'll be taking over the host from Doran and Destiny this morning. This is my first time hosting, so if I do some blunders, Rosie, please accept my apologies in advance. And I suppose we all have to start somewhere when we do something new, don't we?
Absolutely, absolutely. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you perfectly, yes.
Great, great.
Yeah. I was just reading through your bio this morning. It's absolutely amazing. So I'm just going to share a little bit of it before you actually start, if that's okay.
Sure.
So you're in the UK, and Rosie, you're the founder of Rosie Glow, and you do online energetic portals for helping people clear their pain in their bodies. Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow, that is so amazing. And you connect in on a deep, full, blissful aspect. So it's not like, it doesn't hurt. It's not invasive. It's really pain-free, but you're connecting on that energetic level.
Yeah, it's about creating the safety to be able to feel. Like when you feel safe enough to feel your emotions and you know they're not going to kill you, there are ways of being able to elevate the process so that you're going through it with grace and ease. And I think the days of punishing ourselves to grow are over, you know, like that's old school. We're not there. So these are new multi-dimensional, fifth dimension and above tools that I'm really grateful to my teacher, Susanna Kennedy, actually, who I've been working with for the last 3 years. She's completely changed my life. And I was working with a lot of tools before that I would say were sort of taking me as high as I could into the fourth dimension, the sort of glass ceiling, but I wasn't really getting further. And Bruce Lipton's work, Susanna, that's the trajectory.
Yeah, I was just about to mention that because you actually worked under Bruce Lipton and did the research and all his scientific advance, you know, stuff that he was actually doing. So, you know, you speak very highly of him.
Yeah, I didn't realise, hey!
That was my son. He's having a day of school today. He's not very well today.
Oh, bless him. I hope he feels better.
No,
There's a flower of life I can see in your corner there of your shelf, so it's just that near him. He'll be fine.
No, he will be fine. Yeah, so he just distracted me a little bit. Okay, so some of the work that you're doing at the moment, you're doing the EM detox, empowerment coaching, you're a yoga teacher, you're a light worker, you're a facility and sacred sexuality specialist. That's going to be very interesting. I can't wait to hear about that. There's so many people that are doing coaching and yoga teaching and light work and Reiki and doulas. So what makes you stand out? You know, what do you feel within yourself that makes you stand out to be, you know, not better than anybody else, but more unique, so that people then are kind of more drawn to you on an energetic level to be able to feel that nurturing more from you?
Cool, that's a good question. Well, I've just come back from a trip to Kauai, and I know that Destiny was there as well recently. I think we were there at the same time, Cynthia. So basically, what has really transpired and what I've understood is that it's my energy to embody the Divine Mother. And it's something that I've taken a long time to accept, but we're all moving into a state of stepping into being ascended masters in training at the moment. And we've needed to have a good physical grounding to be able to then step into these high frequencies, because, you know, I call myself a very grounded hippie. All right, because I operate in the world of hippies, but I see so many hippies just, you know, sorry, no offense to hippies here, but so many light workers, so many people who are into all this multidimensional stuff, just flying high and really not being grounded and able to manifest in their physical reality what they need. Equally, when we're doing all this lovely, wonderful, energetic work, but we're not really clearing from the physical body. And I'm not just talking here about detoxing through food and juicing and fasting and so forth, but I'm talking about using physical movement like yoga really consciously. And I've trained in lots of different modes of yoga. Basically, from the moment I trained as a general yoga teacher, I started to get pregnant clients coming through, and I didn't feel equipped to deal with them. So I did specialist training from very early in my career, and I just kept going. So I've become a specialist in lots of niche areas that all relate to each other, like the flower of life. You know, I live by this. It's just there. And you got it on too, sister. Beautiful. So, you know, this whole thing has been about being able to embody this divinity and to be able to clear the channels physically so that we can bring in more light, because that's what yoga is supposed to do. But as a teacher trainer of yoga, I see a lot of yoga teachers basically falling into the same trap, same as students, and the same with Reiki, the same with any modality. We're looking for our answer outside of ourselves, and your coding's inside of you. When you align with your optimal blueprint, which is a physical alignment, an emotional alignment, a spiritual and a psychological alignment, then you get to be you, authentic you, stripped of all the other stuff. And that's what, you know, I had a specialist interest in fear, because guess what? I was born terrified, you know, rebirthing from the age of 14. So a fear release has been a really big part of all of my work, physical and energetic. And I think what I would say separates me out from the crowd is a lot of years of experience, a lot of years of working with women and then babies and then men. And very interestingly, how many men are coming to me now wanting to step into their softness, their vulnerability, their truth, but still having that conditioning of, you know, the male programming that says they have to be this way. And I'm seeing two extremes again. I'm seeing the men who are completely rejecting the stereotype of the alpha male, or, you know, the metrosexual, whatever, and but not knowing where they are, going to the other extreme. And then, you know, you're seeing the men who are the alpha males that are kind of not wanting to stick and not wanting to stop, not wanting to look at their wounds and actually just evolve into the next version of themselves. But they both like working with me. So it's physical. It's make If you're going to bring in more and more energy and be a higher frequency voltage, you have to ground deep. If you don't, you are dangerous to yourself and other people. So that's kind of the premise.
Wow, that was a cool answer. I heard you saying that people are, you know, ascending, descending. They want to be in a place of Mother Earth is activating and, you know, going through an ascension process. What does that really mean? Like, to people that are hearing this day to day, people that are wanting to know more. You know, I did an expo on the weekend. It's called Heal Yourself Expo. And a lot of people came in and they don't understand it. So in layman's terms, without using, you know, all that technical wording, how would you be able to explain it to somebody that is new to this, that's wanting to be, you know, more intrigued, learn more about doing yoga, being more at peace with themselves, grounding themselves more? Well, what would you offer?
Well, look, it's really simple, and I love that you've asked that, because actually my client base is primarily what I would call mainstream clients who are really not very happy with the conditioning. Like they're sort of just starting to wake up and they want to open their eyes, but there's this sort of shock factor when you realize how much of the world that we're living in is just programmed matrix stuff. It's terrifying to open your eyes. So let's just look at this in a really simple term. I talked about the fact that when you do yoga, you bring more light into your body. So you drop your density, okay? Now, dropping your density means if you sit around all day at a computer, you're going to be quite stiff and tight, right? The moment you start to work your joints, you start to bring your breath into, because you can do this, but this doesn't do anything, yeah? Sorry, my special crystal. If you then bring your breath into it, you start to oil your joints, right? When you start to oil your joints, you then start to create more elasticity, more willingness to move. So now you're expanding and you're able to move the wings of your heart, your arms. So it keeps expanding, and the more you move into the next stage with grace and ease rather than forcing it. You know, exercise used to be about punishment. It used to be about this many repetitions or whatever because it's good for you, but you're so divorced. You're not enjoying it. There's no joy. If you're not enjoying it, it's rubbish. Don't do it. And so everything's about this pathway of joy. So ascending, Mother Earth ascending. I use the language woo-woo for anything that's, you know, a bit out there, okay? And I understand that language well. But in the end, what's the practical reality? Who cares if Mother Nature is ascending to 5D or whatever if I can't pay my bills, right? And what it really means is that we're learning that we are masterful manifestors. We are co-creating our reality. And part of learning that is having to accept that up until now, all the crappy stuff in our lives that we're desperate to overcome or to numb ourselves from, on some level we have allowed in through our expectations, subconscious usually. So the way that I work is to clear the subconscious, but to also clear the conscious mind at the same time, and to work with conscious mind tools, which are your SOS in the moment trigger tools or pain in your body that you want to clear. And then subconscious reprogramming, which takes a little longer to see the effects of, but you're working with hypnosis, self-hypnosis, you're working with theta brainwave music, you're working with I am statements, and you're working with all layers of your being because you're working with those command statements. So, and breath work, so rebirthing breath. All those things work with the subconscious. So you kind of got to do both. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question so far?
That definitely answers my question, and yes, that makes a lot of sense. So for someone like me, I'm a little bit versatile. I run, you know, businesses, and I'm, you know, very spiritual. I have done energetic work. I've been a massage therapist for years and years and years. But you tend to do, you know, day-to-day stuff. Okay, and it just and you just get into that cycle. So if for the people that sit there and want to do that, what would be some exercises for them sitting in their chair, just like us now, that you could then just, you know, go through and in 1 minute, 2 minutes, just to reconnect, just so you don't lose yourself?
Really easy. I mean, look, the first thing is rub your hands together, okay? Because when you rub your hands together, you get the right and the left side of the brain firing up and starting to work together the way you want it to. So that's the first thing I would do, and that just brings you back to yourself. The next thing would be just to bring your hands to your heart. And I do this several times a day. So this is the simplest exercise that I offer everybody.
So do you put your right hand on the bottom and your left hand over the top, or it doesn't matter?
You know what? That's just a monkey mind. Who cares? It's whichever one feels right, yeah? And this is what I mean about yoga teachers. It's got to be this way. And there are specific protocols that work a certain way, yes. But as we're learning to trust our hearts and to move into our hearts, we are basically learning to shut that down, right? So you breathe into your heart, and what you're doing is you're wanting to activate your higher heart. Now, I want to say this is such an important lesson that I learned really recently. I don't know about you, but when people say to you, trust your heart, that scares the bejeebies out of me, okay? Because trusting my heart has led me into so much trouble in the past, you know, going for the wrong relationship, making decisions that felt right but didn't think about the repercussions. Yeah. And when you think about it, the physical heart, or the heart chakra we know in the 7 chakra system, is aligned with the emotional body. Now, the emotional body is connected to your inner child. So without realizing it, when you trust your heart, you're potentially connecting to your inner child's wounds. And what you're doing is you're allowing your inner child to express through you and to say, give me that experience because I really need to heal it. Give me that. And yes, that's one way to heal it, and we can heal through pain. But when you choose consciously, which is what we're doing now, to activate your higher heart, then what you're doing is you're inviting your higher self. You're inviting your I am presence. You're inviting your superconscious to take over from your monkey mind, which is just your programming. Monkey mind is programming. Superconscious is soul consciousness, right? And then working with your emotional body allows you, because what happens when you have physical pain is your emotional body is so full, or your mental body, depending which way, or both, they're kind of in the same place, that it's now manifesting physically. So this just clears that, and I just wanted to say that. Also, trusting your gut, very hard to do when your gut's so wired up with fear programming, right? What your gut tells you is where to, you know, run. So anyway, it's another thing, stuff I do on my courses. So hands on the heart, 3 deep breaths. You just take a nice deep breath into your heart. And as you breathe out, sigh. And just imagine that you're sending that sigh down your body into the earth, just releasing, clearing out whatever's there. And you can imagine your heart smiling. And I just say to myself, you know, I am all that is. I am all that is. I am all that is.
I am all that is.
I am pure love.
I am pure love.
I am pure light.
I am pure light.
I am pure wisdom.
I am pure wisdom.
I am pure power.
I am pure power.
I am a multi-dimensional being of love light.
I am a multi-dimensional being of love light.
I am the source of my creations.
I am the source of my creations.
And I am the creator of my own reality.
And I am the creator of my own reality.
I am that I am.
I am that I am.
And as you allow yourself to accept that as truth, you've basically activated your I am presence. And you're just filling your whole body with that I am presence. Now, to speed this up, there's a simple mudra I'll show you. So you would then take your left hand onto the top of your head. This is if you didn't feel like a complete fool in your office, right? If you're on your own, otherwise you can just keep hold of your hands. And then the other hand would be fingers down. I'll get up so you can see, towards your pubic bone, okay?
Oh, yeah.
So one down, fingers down, and then the other one up. And as you would do that, you're now a lightning bolt. So this is your lightsaber, your inner lightsaber. You've got to keep this clear. If you don't, you clog up. So you then breathe in from your heart, breathe out through your pelvic floor and your feet into the center of the earth. So you're anchoring into Gaia. This is what I was saying about rooting, grounding. Next, in breath, bring the breath all the way up from the center of the planet, up through your heart, and then out through the crown of your head, up through the sun, to the center of all that is, so the center of the multiverse. And then you breathe in again through the crown of your head, bringing the sunlight down, which is our local power source, all the way down your body as you breathe out and through to the center of the earth. And you've got to go through the heart. So you move up again, breathing in all the way up and out through the crown of your head. And then you breathe in through the crown of your head and all the way down and out through your pelvic floor, through your feet into the earth. So this is you remembering you are that powerful that you can co-create anything you want. Then you bring your hands back to your heart, rub your hands together again. And this is you offering yourself in higher service. And I run businesses as well. I know how many hats you've got to shift on, right? So then just stretch around and get your heart. Just really stretch your heart. These are the wings of your heart. You move it all around. And shake it out if you need to. And from that place, you're ready to co-create. So what is it you want to co-create?
What is it I want to co-create?
Yeah. So in any moment, so you're at home and you want to do that little check-in, that really would take you 2 minutes.
Yeah. I'm just co-creating some programs for some of my new projects that I'm putting together very, very soon. So that's really awesome. And that's really powerful because I can feel tingles over my body and it's really awesome.
With that, you clear your central column, and if you were to continue with the breathing, you'd then work with the outline of your physical body, and then you push right out to the outline of your energetic outline, so what I would call your sphere of compassion. There are lots of little tools like that, and that's what I like, is to make it really real and doable, because no one's going to spend an hour every day before work doing yoga. If they do, you have my utmost respect. I don't do it. Yoga is a part of my life. It's all day, every day, connecting.
Okay, that's absolutely awesome. Hey, Rosie, did you want to actually say anything specific on your talk today? Because I kind of took in some questionnaires and wanting to actually express with you your passion and the delivery of what you're doing while you're here. So,
well, how long have we got left?
I think you've got 10 minutes.
10 minutes. Okay. So basically, I mean, what I wanted to do was to offer a process, but I'm not sure we'll have time. And we've just done a little process now, but I've just come back from this really awesome festival called Into the Wild. And it's been the first time I've been asked to step up and be the master of ceremony. So I was asked to create the portal for this festival, which had about 2,000 people attend, and to hold the space, and then we did a closing ceremony today. Now it was over Beltane, so the whole thing was about celebrating the sacred masculine and the sacred feminine. It was a very beautiful energy. I saw so many things getting played out, but what I really kind of wanted to home in on was there's different things that I've learned by accident, and I think that's such a wonderful way of learning, is you stumble across a truth and you see it's consistent throughout. And basically, I'm seeing a lot, again, if I go to the mainstream world, because I live in Brighton, which is full of hippies, and I operate in Croydon, so this is in the UK, which is not full of hippies, right? They're two totally different demographics. And what I've seen is just that there is a lot of confusion about what it actually means to be in your power as a woman and what it means to be in your power as a man. And a lot of women feel, as they become empowered and claim their goddess energy and whatever you want to call it, that there's still emotions that are taboo. We're not allowed to be angry. We're not allowed to be jealous. We're not allowed to be envious. We're not allowed to show resistance. We're not allowed to do anything that is bad, that isn't good womanly. In the same way that men are not invited to show fear, and they're not invited to show emotional pain in the sort of way that isn't expressed usually, and what I'm really wanting to offer people is this idea that as we step into our authentic selves, we are going to go through moments where we really feel challenged because our identity disappears. And I know that I, in the past, had a sexual persona, and I wanted to share this because I think it's important for everybody, that you kind of learn a sexual persona as a teenager and as a 20-year-old and so on and beyond, that you think is you in your sexual power, in your empowered state. But actually, it's not you at all. You know, it's who you've learnt to be because it gets people's attention, or you've seen it in a movie, or, you know, whatever it is. And as we step into our authenticity, it's really quite, you know, some women want to maybe grow their arm hair or their leg hair. We want to ditch the heels. We don't want to wear bras. We don't want to wear makeup, whatever. Well, being in your authentic truth is being able to question all of it, and then to come back to this place where you can say, well, this is what makes me feel good. I like this. And when we bring it back to connecting sexually, there are a lot of men that want to learn how to please a woman beyond what they've seen in the more mainstream, you know. I want to talk particularly about pornography because I think this has really, really messed men and women up. And I have a 16-year-old daughter as well, so it's really interesting sort of seeing how we sexualize. But we're so confused. The men are kind of the way that, you know, and I'm really generalizing, but there's a lot of energy vampirism going on in the way that we kind of hook into each other. And as we learn to be authentic, we learn to be able to be in our power without giving our power away, and being able to join forces with our beloved, whether that's for a night, a week, a month, a year, 10 years, a lifetime, and actually just share from a very open and real place without the mask of the persona and the personality. And it's really normal as you go through an awakening of your true self that you're going to question, and you're going to even shut down from aspects of your nature that previously you really identified with. And this is totally normal because it's just taking you to a deeper place in yourself. One of the things I mentioned in my biog was that I discovered by accident, and this is so significant, that the moves that will help a woman to give birth are the same movements. So during a contraction, there are movements that you can make through your pelvis, and these are things I teach, that will increase the inner circumference of your pelvis by up to 30%. And if you apply those same moves, say you have your moon time and you've got menstrual cramps, the same moves are going to ease your menstrual cramps. And if you are also in a space where you're going to be wanting to conceive, then through the same moves, you end up increasing the blood flow to the vital organs, to the sexual organs, and therefore increase your chances of getting pregnant. And the upshot of all of that is the fact that you end up in a position where your orgasms completely shift as well. And as a result of that, well, you end up being able to kind of move your sexual energy through from one chakra to the next. And instead of just having an experience, a sexual experience and sexual pleasure in your root chakra or in your sacral chakra, you can move it all the way up through your body and end up having whole body orgasms that are like fountain explosions through the crown of your head and all the way down to your fingertips and your toes. And you don't have to have had years and years of tantra training. You just need some simple breath work. The same thing happens for the guys as well, is that when you use these same moves, and I teach them in my private practice to athletes who would never come to a pregnancy yoga class in their lives, but ultimately these are the same moves that will increase the elasticity and increase their flexibility. But again, when you do this consciously and you do it through breath work and movement, you can end up working through all of the energy centers and clearing blocks very easily, just through breath, movement, and spontaneous sound. Now, I don't actually know if you're still with me because you seem like you've disappeared. So I'm just going to carry on chatting until you come on. I think we've got a chat box here.
Still lovely.
You're there. You're there.
Yeah, so Destiny and I are both hosting, and she's removed me because I'm still learning about how to pin you and only have you on the screen, right? So I just have to show myself there, but I don't know how to bring myself back. Hide.
What you do is you click on start video again and it will re-show you. And whenever you have your video off, it will just remove you.
That's good.
Well done.
That was easy. Thanks, Destiny.
Welcome. You've still got another 3 minutes, and I'm just confirming in with the next speaker. Thank you so much, Rosie. Lots of
I'm
love.
so welcome, sweetheart. It's lovely to connect with you. Yeah, so you know, that I think coming back to this idea of authenticity and coming back to being able to be, you know, in our truth and to embody, like to have an inner masculine. Like if we want to have healthy relationships with opposite sex, same sex, we've got to have a healthy relationship with our own inner masculine and inner feminine. And most of us are a lot more wounded than we realize. And we might actually be fine with our same sex. Like my inner female might be, my inner feminine might be absolutely fine, but my inner masculine is really unhealthy. And it really shows up in your attractions and your connections with people. It will show you so much that outer world is a projection of your inner world. But through doing this physical work, which is why all my programs are physically based, even if they're online, that I'm always anchoring this energetic work in the physical, because you'll move through it quicker. You just increase your channel, you increase your circuitry so that you're able to handle more and more and more without blowing a gasket. And that's so important for your long-term physical health, because a lot of people being unhappy in their lives is just down to their nervous system, their endocrine and nervous system being really shot. And for most of us, that has occurred since birth, if not before. That program is laid time in the womb, and it can even be at conception. So that's all the stuff that leads me to sex, to unions, exploration, and then back again to creation and co-creating our reality, because it's the same energy.
That is amazing. That is so good. But before you go, I really want you to be able to share with everybody the programs or the projects or the resources that you are currently involved in, that you're helping people, like Fearless, Empowered and Free to Be Me program.
Yeah.
Did you just want to go through what you've actually got on your website, just so people know? Because I didn't know that you had a teen survival toolkit. Oh my gosh, who doesn't need one of them when you've got teenagers? I got a 16-year-old and a 13-year-old. Guess what I'm doing after this?
Well, look, I hate to disappoint you on that, because there's a few things up on the website that I haven't created all of the programs for. That the Fearless, Empowered and Free to Be Me is the place to start for teenagers anyway, because we've got to work with ourselves. And that's my signature system, and also Conceive with Ease, which both of them involve the emotional mental detox program, which, you know, I mentioned Susanna, my teacher, and basically I trained as an EM detox coach with her, because what I found was her work just did in 3 months what took me 10 years to do prior to that, you know. So it was just like, okay, this is really, really powerful. But I had to also take it into the physical. So what I would suggest is I will put a little link up, you know, tomorrow. I'm actually flying to Turkey tomorrow, so I will get it up for you. But the Fearless, Empowered and Free to Be Me program, I've got a new one starting in June, but I'm running a free challenge called Screw, Survive and Start Thriving on the 22nd of May. It's a 5-day challenge. So again, I'll invite people to that. And, you know, I'm really happy to do, I was thinking about offering a little special for you all, and I thought it would be really good to offer you my Gaia, Higher Self and Higher Heart activation, and also a morning yoga practice I've got, which is like a 12-minute practice for activating your light body fully. And it brings those moves in that I was talking about when I couldn't see you. So really happy to share that, and then I can send more information on these programs.
Okay, so where are you going to post that so all the viewers can actually access it? Are you going to put it in the Divine Masculine page on Facebook?
Yeah, what I would suggest is I will put a link up to anyone who wants to sign up to my website and just sends me a little email, you know, once they're confirmed, says they're from the summit. I will make sure that I'll post them the videos. Because I'm going away for a week, I just want to, you know, strike it while the iron's hot. So anybody who wants to subscribe to rosieglow.com and my Rosie Glow Facebook page, just drop me a line, let me know you're from the summit, and I'll make sure I get you some freebies just for you, and I'll send you information.
And what's your email address, Rosie?
It's Rosanna, ROSANNA, at rosieglow, ROZYGLOW.com.
Perfect. Fantastic.
Your details have actually been pinned, Rosie. They're
Oh,
pinned.
cool.
While you were talking, they were pinned on the live stream. All of the links that you put in your bio. And
Excellent.
if you want to send me any freebies, I can post them in the New Earth, New You Now group. I can post them on Divine Masculine and Feminine Rising, and I can email them to all of the people who have registered.
Awesome. That'd be lovely. That'd be wonderful. We'll sort that out. No problem. Okay. Well, thank you so much. It's been so lovely to connect with you both. Thank you.
Thanks, Rosie.
Nice chatting to you, Kelly. Take care. Lots of love,
Okay,
everyone. Bye.
Bye. Well, that was Rosie, and what an amazing, amazing woman she is. Our next speaker is Alyssa Evans Nussman, and she is just being messaged now. I'm just going to check that.
You can read through her bio when you're ready, lovely. Thank you.
Okay, no worries. So Alyssa is the owner of Alchemy Catalyst, is a conscious evolution coach, human design musician. She uses human design and emotional mindset methods to facilitate transformation. Oh my gosh, that sounds so cool. And she also does forgiveness and self-acceptance with spiritual creative rebels. Alyssa is a mother of 2 daughters and lives on the beautiful central coast of California, USA. She offers VIP one-on-one coaching, human design readings, and in-person workshops. And so if you want to learn more about what Alyssa has to offer, you can visit her Facebook page, which is the Human Design Alchemy Catalyst. And she is also doing creative flow and embracing the heroine's journey. So she's actually doing some amazing stuff in California, and we still don't seem to have her on at the moment. Destiny? No. Okay, so what I can do is I'm going to start to tell you a little bit about what I've actually been doing in One Person, One Planet, seeing as that we're sponsoring Destiny on her little journey with Doran and Dakota, who are both doing absolutely amazing work around the world and connecting and just supporting people that are needing different aspects of day-to-day living, support hubs, let's say. So what I'm actually doing with One Person, One Planet is creating projects for things that people can do on a day-to-day basis. So what that means is I've created a project called New You, Youth, the Real World. So having a 16-year-old son and a 13-year-old daughter, they're wanting to get a job. And so once we actually sat down and said, well, you know, what do we need and what do we need to do to go about getting your first job and everything, the first thing that came up and says, oh, we need a resume. I'm so like, well, you know, your laptop and everything's downstairs, so you go and put that together. And he goes, well, Mum, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to put a resume together. And I'm just like, oh, well, I thought that they were actually teaching you that at school. And he goes, well, no, that's not one of the things that they're actually teaching us. And so once we actually started talking about what they're not being taught at school, we decided to put together a program that would help the children that are wanting to enter the real world to get a job. So what we are now doing, we're doing workshops to do creative resume writing. We also are doing a come together fair for employers and getting them in a hall, and we're getting about 50, and then we're getting the kids or the youth, can't call them kids, that are wanting a job, that are wanting to know what to wear.
Kelly, I've just been notified that Alyssa is there waiting. She may actually just be in the attendees section, which I messaged you on the chat, all the details that you need to know in order to get them from viewer to panelist.
Yeah, no, I know how to do that, but it says one viewer, but there's nothing there.
Yeah, you need to click on it, and then you need to click on her name, and you need to click on make panelist.
Yeah, there's no name. It says one viewer and her name is not there. And I know how to bring somebody from viewer over to panelist and it's not there. Her
Okay,
name-
I'll make sure that she's logged in her account. Just a moment.
Okay, no worries. Okay, so until Alyssa comes on, I'll just quickly finish sharing with you. So what we are now doing is we're getting employers together to be able to sit with the youth, our children, and teaching them what to say at a job interview, and then, you know, teaching them what to wear, and a whole heap of other things to build up their confidence in getting out into the real world. And another thing we noticed is that none of them have a bank account. So we've actually connected with some of our community bankers around Brisbane, so that not only are our children getting a bank account, but they're actually supporting community banking and not the big banksters that are all out there at this particular point in time. So we are still waiting for Alyssa. She obviously hasn't logged in correctly in here. So if anyone has any questions regarding any of the participants or speakers for today, you can enter them into the chat bar and then we can answer those. So after we have, after Alyssa finishes having her chat, oh, she's gone now, so she must be re-entering in. We have Carlos Indigo Lara, and he's from New York, and I'll go through his bio a little bit later. And then after Carlos, we have Tamika Hindler, and she is on the Gold Coast and has some absolutely amazing stuff that she's doing as well, along with everybody else, everyone that I am in connection with, along with Destiny, are all doing amazing work. She's come on as a viewer again, but her name's still not in the box for me to actually click. Okay, so what else I'm doing. So she does facilitates transformation for forgiveness and self-acceptance and spiritual creative rebels. Not too sure what that means, so I'll be really interested to hear about what she's actually meaning and the project or programs that she's putting in place there. Hang on, Destiny's just messaging me. Okay, no, she's just messaging everybody else. Okay, to exchange. Won't be a second, everybody. To exchange details on Teams Tools Kit. Destiny just messaged. Okay. All right, still waiting for Alyssa.
It says she's in there. It says she's in there. She's relogged in. Are you able to go into chats, click on the top where it says attendees, click on her name, and then click on the options button and see if it lets you make her a panelist? I can't do it from my phone.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I've got you and I in as the panelist and the viewer. Oops, hang on a second. That just went out. Back to meeting.
So you click on where it says viewer, you click on her name, and there should be an option button you click on that says make panelist.
Yep, I'm in viewer right this very second, and her name does not appear in there. Like Rosie.
It does. It even appears on my phone, so it has to.
Okay, so I can do a share screen because it's definitely not there.
Okay, well, I'll see if I can log in as you, and I can change it.
Okay.
Give me a moment.
Are you still there, Destiny?
Yeah, I just unmuted myself. I muted myself because it's quite loud here. I'm having to re-log into it again. Give me a moment.
Did you just want me to make you a host so you can see?
I can't do that. I can't change that on my phone.
Okay, sweetie, no drama.
I'm logged in as myself on my phone. Give me a moment.
Okay, so a little bit of technical issues here. I'm just going to quickly. No, that's not going to work. Okay. We're just waiting. Okay, so I'm not going to sit here and not do anything. So I was at the Heal Yourself Expo, and there was some absolutely amazing, outstanding people doing some amazing things. So Destiny's just logging into the account now. I can just see her. Here she is. And we don't need to do it again. I see you.
Thank you. Can you guys hear me? I have to unmute myself, huh?
We can hear you.
Oh, you can. Awesome. Thank you so much for being so patient. I'm just like sitting here like, what do I do? Thank you, Destiny.
If it's any consolation, when I first jumped on here a couple of months ago, I had no idea what I was doing either, and I did exactly what you did. So, you know what? It's all good.
She only has 15 minutes, so we're going to let you just continue.
Okay.
Go.
Okay.
Continue as you feel the need to flow, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. So, yeah, thank you guys. And I know it's like I think I'm the last person. So, sorry. Okay. So I appreciate your introduction, and I appreciate you, Kelly, for doing what you were doing to keep things going. My name is Alyssa Evans, and I am a transformational coach, a conscious evolution coach and facilitator. So I already know that I had my intro. So basically, my intention for you all today in this next 15 minutes is just to let you know some of my story, and hopefully you'll find some value in it and some inspiration. So I'm going to talk to you about how I have cultivated the divine feminine in my life. And so I want to start with just giving you a little bit of history of me, a quick backstory of what my life looked like previously. So in the past, I really struggled with dissociation. And I don't know if many of you are familiar with that, but what that is when you kind of step out of your body. You're not really present. And so I struggled with that, and that was due to sexual abuse. And I didn't pay attention to my intuition. As a highly sensitive person, I also would easily get overstimulated by sights, sounds, etc. And I found myself numbing with alcohol. And I would suppress my emotions and self-expression. I really had an inability to maintain a presence, and didn't really know how to practice mindfulness, and had virtually no boundaries in my life. So that basically resulted in me feeling very depressed, resentful, angry, and invisible. I don't know if any of you can relate to experiencing these types of things and feelings. So that's kind of how I lived before I started cultivating the divine feminine in my life. This has been a very recent journey for me of really stepping into the feminine in my life. And some of the ways that I actually had it kind of broken down into personal, business, and relationships, but I decided, you know what, it kind of all crosses over into all areas of my life. So I'll just give you the highlights of this. So the way that I have cultivated the divine feminine in my life is, overall, it's been a practice of embodying. So really being in my body and really being able to feel everything. And some of the ways that I've been able to do that is with dance. Dance has been very powerful and very profound way for me to feel alive in my body. I used to be scared to even move my hips. So, and now it's just like, I can't help myself from dancing like all the time. I feel like my life is like a dance party. Even my kids think I dance too much. Another way that I practice embodiment is really being able to be present, whether it's with eating. I love my food, enjoy my food, just really sit and experience that pleasure in nature, with sex. And I feel my feelings. That's a huge way that I've really embodied the divine feminine. I believe our feminine is our intuition and our feelings. So I no longer suppress my emotions. I allow myself to feel all my feelings. And that has been a huge shift in my life. Huge, huge. So some of the things that I was conditioned to believe were that I'm too intense, I'm too emotional, feelings are scary, feelings are unacceptable, and feelings are weak. Have you ever heard any of these or experienced any of these in your life? So yeah, those were some of the messages. What messages did you hear, like growing up around feelings? I'm curious to know. So yeah, I had that conditioning going on for me. So that was part of me accepting my feelings and allowing myself to feel really is part of the cultivation of my divine feminine. I also have, I trust my intuition. I have a deep inner knowing that I trust with using, getting still and meditation to cultivate that as well, which is amazing. It feels so good. Another quick few things are allowing. I believe the feminine allows, like we are built to receive, right? So allowing events and situations to just unfold and not trying to control the outcome, detaching. That feels really good. And receiving. So that kind of goes along with the allowing. Is I receive compliments. I like fully can receive a compliment now. I receive help. I receive support. I receive money. I receive love. Like all of these things. It just feels so good to be able to really do that now in my life. I receive praise, gifts, you name it. Like this, it feels so good to do this. So, and that's basically what it boils down to, right? Is like that feeling pleasure. I think that's part of the divine feminine, the ability to really experience pleasure. And I think that when you're experiencing pleasure and you can express that and just like be able to, express that, other people around you will be like attracted to you magnetically, and they're just like fascinated. They're like, wow, what is she doing? Like, I've noticed that. And so that's another part of that divine feminine expression is influencing versus impacting too, I believe. So the influence that I can have on people is more important than me having like an impact. You can see and feel the different energies in those words. So that's most of what I have for you guys today. So yeah, it just feels good for me to get into that frequency first and then act from that space. And then there's no push, there's no force. It's just all about allowing, receiving, being in my body, and having this as a way of life is just like, I think for mainstream, it maybe feels like counterintuitive, but it is so important for us all to embody this aspect. I don't have much on the divine feminine or divine masculine, today, but those are the things that I have cultivated in my life, and it's all the difference in the world. And I love being able to live that, and my life feels easier. I'm an example to others of what is possible, and I love my life. So I appreciate this, a little bit of time that I was able to get on here. And I love all of you guys. So I just want to thank you so much for being so patient and waiting for me. I will just check the time right now. But
Alyssa?
Yes.
Our next speaker is not responding. So if you want to keep talking about something else that you really wanted to,
Sure.
you know, feel that you're called to actually speak about, I will give you, you know, a little hand signal when he does come on board, and then yeah, you can just continue chatting.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Kelly.
That's okay, no problem.
I'm so thankful to have been able to get on here, because, you know, sometimes when we have those technical glitches, it can just feel like, okay, well, maybe I wasn't supposed to be on here, but like I was really looking forward to this. This is my first time ever being on a telesummit, and I have no problem like saying that, because I feel like I really stand for being authentic and being vulnerable and sharing my story. So I just so appreciate this opportunity. So yeah, another thing that I would love to share with you is that I am a human design analyst. That is part of my body of work and what part of my gift and my toolkit, if you will, that I use with people. If you've never heard of human design, it is an amazing synthesis of science and spirit. So anybody on this that's joining this or is part of this telesummit would love it, or they already know about it probably. So it incorporates the Chinese I Ching, the Kabbalah, quantum physics, your DNA, your chakras, and I always blank out on the sixth one because there's so many. Let's say I said the I Ching, Kabbalah, quantum physics, chakras, DNA, and I don't know, I'm forgetting one right now. But anyway, it is basically like an energetic blueprint of your body. You are born with that based on your birth date, time, and location. You are given an imprint, and your human design gives you the amazing capability of knowing how to make decisions in energetic alignment for you. So what that does, based on your type in human design, it helps you to experience less resistance in decision making. It gives you a unique decision making strategy, and it reduces the low vibrational feelings that you can experience when you're not making decisions in alignment. So fear, anger, frustration, bitterness, disappointment, all of those things we can experience when we're just not coming from the right energy. So human design has changed my life. I found out about it about 6 years ago. When I found out about this, I was just like, this has so much. Astrology, I think that's the one that I forgot. Astrology, that's it. That one is like the most, one of the most prevalent. But anyway, so when I found out about this, I was like, it just like I would stay up at night, like I couldn't even sleep sometimes because I was so freaking excited to learn more about this body of work, because it just goes so in depth. Like you can study it and study it. So I got certified to be a human design analyst a few years back, and I love offering this to people because I have a way of being able to communicate with people about their design that makes it easy for them to understand and just really applicable right away into their life, because I take like that complex body of work and just make it simple and very useful for my clients. I've had people say that they feel like nothing, like they thought something might be wrong with them, and then once they found out about their design, they're like, oh, that's just how I am, and like I can work with this energy. Because like once you know about your design, you can, you know, make decisions in alignment with your energy, and it just makes life so much easier. So that's one of the things that I offer in my coaching and in and all of what I do. So I love human design. I'm really passionate about it. It takes in human design, we have 9 energy centers in the body. Typically, if you're familiar with chakras, there's 7 energy centers. And in human design, there are actually 9. And depending on what your energetic makeup is, you can have energy centers that are open or defined. So if you have an energy center that is open, that basically means that you are open to receiving energy from the outside world, from other people, and you are able to experience energy and gain the most wisdom in those open centers. experience energy in like a multitude of ways. If you have an energy center that is defined in your body, that means that you carry consistent access to that energy, and you will always experience that energy in that same way, and you have it within you all the time. So with your energetic makeup, you're always going to be attracting people that have their energy center open that you have defined. So say like I have my emotional solar plexus defined. That's true for me in human design. I'm an emotional being. And so people that have this open, they're drawn to me because they like can feel my feelings. Basically, they're like, hey, they feed off of that. So it's just such a beautiful body of work, and I love being able to share it with people. So if you're interested in that, I know that Kelly already gave an intro on me, but I have a Facebook page. It's facebook.com, and then it's / alchemy catalyst human design, or human design alchemy catalyst. Sorry, human design alchemy catalyst. And I'm sure that if you're interested, you can always comment on in the summit, and I can give you more information as well. I love doing these readings. I do them on phone, Skype, Zoom. If we do it on Zoom, I can record it for you. So yeah, I have used Zoom before, but I haven't done this before. So this is a learning experience for sure. So yeah, I do facilitate forgiveness work too, and that's something that has been extremely transformational for me and other people in my life. I use a method called radical forgiveness, and it's by Colin Tipping. There is a book called Radical Forgiveness. That's how I first found out about it, and I read through that book and I was just blown away, because the concept of radical forgiveness is unlike traditional forgiveness. You basically embrace the idea that everything is divinely planned. So we came into this world with sacred contracts. We're all here to play this part, and there are no accidents and there are no mistakes. So it's a level of acceptance and surrender and release of emotional blocks and wounding and healing and self-forgiveness ultimately that is just extremely transformational. I mean, I can speak to that in my life personally. I believe that we don't necessarily, or I'll speak for myself. I didn't have the capacity to experience the level of the deep levels of joy and gratitude and all of the deeply and love, even unconditional love, until I was able to remove and process and let go of the emotional energetic blockages that I had trapped in my body. So yeah, by doing the radical forgiveness work, that literally set me free. And it's kind of like a work in progress. Like, I don't know, I made a list for myself, and you'll have it once you make your forgiveness list, you have some big ones on there, and then some maybe other little ones that you're like, but I encourage you to, if you've never heard of Radical Forgiveness, to pick up that book, or at least look into that book by Colin Tipping. It totally changed my life. He also has several other books that are based on the same idea, but like Radical Self-Acceptance is another one. That's a course that I actually was offering recently too, Radical Self-Acceptance. It was a 5-week course that was a group program, and we covered topics all about self-acceptance, but some of them were the art of selfishness, the power of pleasure, and and that's been a really amazing learning experience for me as well. So that's some of the stuff that I do. I love working with people. I love teaching. I love speaking. I love serving people, and I love being part of this movement. And I'm so thankful for Destiny. I spoke with her. I think it was about 4 months ago, about being on the first telesummit that she orchestrated. And in our conversation, we were so inspired by each other that she was just like, I want to do another telesummit. I'm going to do like an offshoot of this one, because what you're speaking to right now is inspiring me. And I'm like, oh, this is awesome. And I think in that original conversation, we were talking about relationships in particular. So I was sharing with her experiences that I've had in relationships and how I believe that we're entering a new paradigm of, for so many things, right? Like all these systems are falling apart, but one in particular is like the marriage as an institutional kind of agreement. And that was something of my experience where I didn't ever even plan on getting married or really even think about it. It was just like one of those next step things. I was deeply conditioned unconsciously and did it, and had a fantasy about what that would be like. And you know, 14 years later, after being with this person, watched it kind of all fall apart. And yeah, so that's an interesting experience. I believe that there's so many ways we can experience relationships, and it's live and learn, right? So I thank you for giving me so much time. It's awesome. Actually kind of got a little time back, and I got to speak about a lot of stuff, so thank you.
Oh, no, that's okay. Carlos, it hasn't come on yet, so we still have some time to get in and have a little bit more of a chat with you. But what we might do is I might just ask you some questions about things that you've actually already said, and so that we can then just go backwards and forwards. And I think some of the viewers on Facebook may possibly be asking, but I haven't got that chat up in front of me at this particular point in time. So
thank you.
That's okay. So with the forgiveness and self-acceptance, do you do like transformations in helping people actually find themselves again, like shed back the layers and really start to find who they are and who they actually want to become?
Yes, absolutely. I am actually training with Tessa Alexa Stanford, and she was on the Telesummit, and I'm taking her philosophy is like the true self revolution. And basically I have been through her, I was like coached by her in her whole process, and it's like the process of true self-expression. And basically the whole premise is that we grow up spending our lives trying to suppress who we really are. And that's kind of what I experienced, is that when I would be who I am, it was not accepted, and it was not so from our parents or adults or authority, or it could be some people in religion, in school, wherever these our outer influences, where we get these conditioned beliefs. We spend all this time like suppressing that, and then so that's part of my work too, is taking that layer and layer and layer. And the path of conscious evolution is something that is not a straight path. Like in my experience in the past 8 months from starting to work with Tessa, it's been like it's kind of like you spend a lot of time just getting rid of a lot of stuff. So that's what I help my clients do, is to like figure out what you're tolerating, what no longer serves you, who are the people in the situations and the circumstances in your life that are out of alignment for you and where you want to be going. A lot of times that's a job that you're in, or a relationship that you're in, or some of the maybe habits that you have that aren't so healthy. So it's a lot of that process is really letting go of and taking away, and like literally feels like at times that you're like burning things, like you're just like dying and being reborn. And then you kind of start that process of now that I've gotten rid of so much stuff, it's like a rebuilding. And it's a lot, and it's not something that that is a straight path. It's definitely something that is it's something that it's extremely helpful to have someone there to hold space for you and to witness you and say, like, I see you, even when you're at those points where you're like, why did I even start doing this work? So it's that's what she's done for me, and that's what I love to do for people as well.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. Another thing is you have 2 daughters.
That's right. Yes. I do.
So going through this new transitional period, you know, in our lives, or this new stage in our lives, you know, we're finding it really hard to, you know, break through those old belief systems, the old patterns, you know, things that our parents told us that we so know to be true because, you know, they were the almighty ones, and we love them, and we believe them, and all this kind of stuff. So how do you interact with your children in today's society that is true to your word and in that belief system? Because I know, having 4 children of my own and 2 teenagers, that it's really, really hard to kind of keep true to who you are and guide them and do the best job that you possibly can with the knowledge that you currently have to support them going through high school, going through primary, going through sporting activities, and meeting other, you know, not so, and I don't like using this word in very loose terms, but an awakening stage where these kids, you know, they still eat white bread and drink fluoride water, and they're unaware of these things that are happening in today's society. So how can you share with us how you interact with your children to make other people's lives a little bit more easier in helping them talk to their children about what's actually happening?
Oh my goodness, that's such a good question. Okay, so, well, first of all, my children are 8 and 5, so they're still pretty young. One of the best things that I've learned, well, there's 2 things that come to mind, is that I really try to parent just by example. So like I try to live my life the way that I want, you know, like as an example to them. So instead of just trying to like teach them something or tell them, you know, and speak it, I want to live by example. I want to be the example of that anything is really possible. I think that's really important. I think that with my parents and a lot of our parents maybe fed us all these beliefs that they didn't mean to, you know, intentionally, but they were like, you know, this like scarcity and lack kind of mentality, and this is just the way things are. And so I've like gone completely, you know, the opposite almost in just being like anything is possible, like trying to allow them to feel into any possible reality for themselves. Another thing that came to my mind is that I really believe that our children are our teachers too. So I think that maybe in the way of parenting for like that I experienced, it was like my parents, they know best. You need to just, you know, listen and conform. You need to do this, right? But I believe I didn't always understand that until like a little bit more recently, probably a couple of years ago, where I really felt like they're here to teach me too. Like it's not just me, you know, trying to teach them. They are so teaching me. There's a book called The Conscious Parent, I believe, by Dr. I'm not going to be able to pronounce her name correctly. It's like Shelfi, and then her last name starts with a T, but it's called The Conscious Parent, or Conscious Parenting. And she really goes into depth about that, about how our children are really here to teach us. So I really believe that we have contracts with our children, and that they are here to teach us. And yeah, and the other things, like you said, so from my experience, like now being divorced and having shared custody, that's a whole nother issue where you're navigating through how can I lead by example and then, you know, help them to make good decisions, but then also have another parent and another household where they're doing different things that I can't control. So that was a whole lesson for me too, is like releasing that kind of, and knowing that I can't control what's happening. I can't be there at their dad's house, you know, like what is going on, but like doing what I can to do, you know, what I can do when they're with me. And it's funny that you mentioned the fluoride thing too, because their dad came to me a couple days ago and said, oh, they have a dentist appointment, they want a fluoride treatment, and this is what they're doing. And I'm like, no, they're not. So that was a thing, you know, I had to discuss with him. And, you know, so it's just like a matter of keeping that communication open. And we have a good communication now. We didn't when we were married, but now I've initiated that and really keep it an open and strong communication with him as far as like what's going on with their children's lives, because they're receiving a lot of very different influence from him versus versus with me. So I see like the influence of my parenting is all just that more important because of the other kinds of influences they're receiving from being at the other parent's house. And so yeah, part of like one of the biggest things that I do with my kids is play. And that's one of the things that I feel like is very helpful. And I also have taught them about loving themselves and how important their self-love is. And one of the things that comes to my mind is I remember the girls sitting in the crib together. Isla, my youngest, was probably like 18 months and the oldest was probably like 3.5. And she said to her, I walked in and I overheard them talking, and my oldest was like, you know, Isla, it's important to love yourself. You need to love yourself more than anything else and anyone else in the whole world. And I was crying, like just thinking, you know, like when we try and we as a parent and then just seeing that kind of thing like pay off, you're like, yes, it was so sweet, just like one of those amazing moments, like all of that wrapped up in, yeah.
You know what, I totally hear you, Alyssa. I try to do exactly the same in so many different ways, like the food that my children eat. And, you know, when I hear them say, well, you can't eat that because that's got that in it and it's had those pesticides, you know, sprayed on them or whatever. It doesn't matter what, but it, you know, once I start to hear them and they're thinking about it, which is the really cool thing, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
cool. Yeah, I take my hat off to you. That's absolutely amazing. But there's another question I have for you. It says here this inspiring and facilitating badass spiritual rebel woman. I would love to know how you came up with that title.
Okay, that's a great question because, so for the longest time especially when I decided to commit to going, you know, just being an entrepreneur and a coach, I've struggled with finding my like ideal clients, right? So I started out with helping moms. I created a couple different courses for moms because that was what I really felt like I had like a lot of life experience in. I experienced severe postpartum depression. I came out of that. But then once I had completed that course, I kind of realized that I didn't only want to focus on mothers or mothers of young children. So I realized, like, I guess I kind of got the feeling that my vision or my impact or influence was bigger than that. I didn't want to limit myself. And so I struggled for a while to figure out who is my ideal client or who is my target audience, right? So that's why I came up with that, was because I had this breakthrough around my ideal client, and my ideal client is me. And I had a hard time accepting that at first. And so, like, if I was thinking, because I would make a list of things, right? Like who do I want to serve? And I want them to be spiritual. I want them to be highly creative. I want them to be highly sensitive. I want them to be, you know, just, you know, so like basically it's kind of a description of myself. And once I like embraced that this is who I want to speak to and this is who I want to serve, it just things became to come together, and it's so much easier because I'm allowing myself to like attract the people that are like me, and it makes sense for me. It just does. And so it feels really good because I'm basically just, it's like, I feel like we're all here on this path, like in this life to reach a hand out to someone that's a few steps behind you. And I can do that for someone, and someone's done that for me many times. So that's really what it was about, is just figuring out a way to describe my ideal clients.
That is really cool, because when I read that, I go, oh my gosh, you know, because you know, sometimes when you have a new project come on and you're really passionate about something and you really go, okay, you know, I really need to name it, or I need to put something, you know, so that people can resonate with it, because I don't want to attract the wrong people or I'm wanting to do that. And I saw that and I'm like, this chick's got some spirit.
Thank you.
Yeah, and it's really creative as well, because, you know, badass, you know, not a lot of women would go, you know, badass, and so like we go badass in what does that look like? But when you then add on the spiritual rebellious woman, it kind of then puts that into perspective and flow. So I really love it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, that's
Yeah, it
okay.
definitely feels good.
And so we've probably got just over 10 minutes because I can't see Carlos coming on now. I did hear that he has gone through a little bit of a trauma with a friend. So we're sending him our love and blessings at this particular point in time, and hopefully he is safe and well. So another one is emotional. Like, you know, when you're going through some transitional periods through your life, and you have that knot in your stomach, and you go, oh my gosh, am I getting sick? Or, you know, what's that feeling? Or I really want to get rid of it. And then it starts to affect the mind and different aspects. And, you know, I'm talking to you from a personal experience. When you feel that emotion in your tummy, and then you actually then play with it in your mind going, am I sick? Am I going for a shift? Or what is that? You know, can you share with us something that can ease people's minds that are actually going through similar things, that don't think they're going crazy, or, you know, should I go and see a doctor? Because, you know, a doctor will only suppress it and give it another name that it doesn't necessarily need. So how would you help somebody if they came to you and just said what I did?
I love your question. That is so awesome. Thank you. Well, first of all, I think that a lot of times we're basically like our brains are meaning making machines, right? So when we have the feeling, we automatically want to attach something to it. Like, what does that mean? Or an experience, what does that mean? And sometimes it doesn't really mean what we think it means. So, and another thing is that emotions are teachers. So it's important to allow ourselves to feel what we're feeling, but then also when our brains start to go and connect that with something and then have these thoughts, a really, really powerful tool that you can use that I've used so much that has been extremely helpful, and I still use to this day. But even like 6 months ago, it was especially powerful because I was going through a lot of fear coming up because I was changing my life in such huge ways. So what I would do is I would write down the way that I was feeling, right? So like write down those fear-based thoughts. And then I would look at it and then ask myself, like, why that, like, I almost like step away from it for a second, right? And then just be like, I wonder why I'm feeling like this, or I wonder why I'm thinking this way. And then if you receive an answer, you might receive an answer. I would also ask myself, what do I need? What do I need right now? A lot of times when I was experiencing those fear-based thoughts and getting anxiety and stuff, it was because I needed something that I wasn't giving myself. So I would be like, oh, I need to call a friend. I need to take a bath. Like, I need to go outside. So I would like answer my question and come up with a few things and write it down and say, okay, well, I need connection. I need support. So finding out what you really need, like what your body's really trying to tell you. And then also the last thing would be counter narratives. These are huge. So counter narratives are a sentence that is the exact opposite of what you had wrote down originally. So I would write down, you know, like, I'm worried that I'm going to fail this test. I'm going to fail this test. And then the counter narrative would be like, I can ace this test. Or you could, even if you're feeling like your counter narrative, so that sentence that's like the opposite of what your fear is, if you feel like you really can't connect with it and you really have a hard time believing it, you can also use what's called a transitional counter narrative. So that would be like something that maybe not necessarily is the complete opposite, but something that might be a little bit more believable to you. So it could be like, say if you're like worried about say if you're worried about getting into a car accident, for example, you could say, like, maybe your fear was like, I feel like if I get in the car, something bad's going to happen. Your transitional counter narrative could be, I don't know and I cannot predict the future. You know, something that's like a little bit more believable. That's not a very good example, but yeah, because I know that that's one of the things that my clients have expressed that they've struggled with too. If the complete complete opposite doesn't feel believable, you can just kind of give a sentence that kind of allays your fear a little bit, but kind of leaves it open for like possibility and interpretation. But I know for me, like this has worked so powerfully in my life. Like what I would do is write down the fears, get curious, and then do the counter narratives. And then I would walk around doing whatever I was doing that day. Maybe if I was going for a walk or if I was making my breakfast, and I would just state those out loud over and over again. So I'd be like, I'm safe, I'm secure, and I'm abundant. I'm safe, I'm secure, and I'm abundant. Like whatever it was, those positive things that were the exact opposite of my fears. Just the act of speaking this out loud, like it changes your body's chemistry. Like I felt calm and like okay, and it's just amazing how powerful it is. So that's what I would say to that.
That's cool. Sorry, I was just organising the next speaker. She's actually coming on and just logging in now. So thank you so much for sharing. I totally resonated with so much that you were going, that you were talking about and sharing your experiences. And I think that, you know, any woman that goes through those journeys, and that is sharing different modalities or different offerings of themselves to actually help other people, men, women, even our elderly generation. They're going through so much. So
yes.
I was talking to an elderly 91-year-old woman on the weekend, and she was amazing, and she was so inspiring at the same time, where she's still open to new things that are in her pathways, and she's not stuck in those, you know, those ground rock, you know, 50s, 40s, 50s, 60s, you know, old lifestyle patterns and the way that she was taught. And I was just in awe of her conversation. We chatted for about 45 minutes. So I think it's just really, really cool.
That is so awesome. Yeah, I definitely believe that as we get older, that we should have more like respect for each other's wisdom and be treated as such. Like I really believe in that, like that, you know, there's a lot of people in there. I don't know, the older I get, the different ages, you know, you consider being old, but I would say like people, you know, from in their 60s, 70s, 80s and beyond, it's like they're like a freaking well of wisdom, and like I don't believe we honor and acknowledge that enough. Like we don't ask them for their wisdom and treat them in that way. That it's definitely a big deal.
Absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, so I just want to thank you. We do have the viewer on, and Destiny, if you can hear me, I'm having a similar problem as to what I was having with Alyssa. Is I cannot see, I can't see Tamika's name in viewer to bring her over as a panelist. It's just not showing up on my list. So if you can hear me, Destiny, I need your assistance. My gosh, I don't know why that's not coming up. Technology, hey?
I know.
Okay, I know Destiny's still on. I can still see Destiny. But, oh my gosh, I don't know why I cannot see her.
Oh, there's one viewer.
Hang on a second. You keep talking, Alyssa.
I'm going to have to attempt to log into my tablet, which was dead, and I turned it off. You should be able to, because I can see it on my phone, but I'm not a host.
I know. I've taken a screenshot of what I have here for you to see later.
Okay, I'm just going to attempt to turn my tablet back on again and log into it. So hopefully I can fix it and do the same thing.
Okay, no worries.
I need to leave where I am. I've only just been able to go to the toilet for the first time today. I slept on a beach last night. I'm going to have to leave the location that I'm at. That's a public location. So hopefully you can figure it out afterwards. Maybe we're going to have to stop after Tamika and you actually log in and do another live feed, like I said.
Yeah.
That might help so that you're able to actually access everything and I don't have to be constantly changing it all.
Yeah,
so
no
give me a
worries.
moment and I will log in so that I can add Tamika as a panelist. Just give me a second.
Okay, no worries. So, Alyssa, if you want to keep talking about maybe a really good one is your separation with your husband, if it's not too private for you, how
No,
you
not at all.
then, like for me, separating from, you know, one of my my last partner before my previous partner, obviously, he was probably one of my biggest teachers to date in knowing what I didn't want. So I actually got went through that cycle of, oh my gosh, you know, why did you do this to me? And I was the victim, and then I went through another cycle of going, oh my gosh, you know, why did I attract that into my life? And you know, what was the purpose of all that? And then I went through another then cycle of going, okay, I'm okay with that now. All of that negativity and that anger, you know, has all been not necessarily pushed aside because, you know, I had to deal with it through that, you know, ongoing cycle. And I did a lot of writing as well, which was, you know, a releasing process for me. But for you, and being, you know, a coach and helping people and in front of people all the time, how do you manage that when somebody comes to you in despair? They got their eyes are red, they're going, oh my gosh, I've just separated from a 20-year marriage, I don't know what to do, how do I go about it? How do you deal with that?
Well, I think that that's a great question. Thank you. And I think that a lot of that for me really came down to self-care. I was severely lacking in self-care especially in the last few years of my marriage, and it was like almost appalling, like how bad I had let myself go. So that's kind of where I start at, is really just from the ground up with self-care. So that self-care to me is you know, encompasses, you know, our physical, mental, emotional, spiritual beings, and I would definitely start with physical. So yeah, that's where I would start. And I totally resonate with you as far as feeling like you've learned what you don't want. I know in my marriage, it was I really believe that we had this like soul contract, because I learned, you know, from him that, well, the conditioning that I took on was that emotions are scary, emotions are weak, emotions are unacceptable, and emotions should be suppressed, and that it was just like unsafe for me to express emotions, which is very damaging, because I'm a very emotional person and very enthusiastic. So
Kelly, I'm going to have to get you to get out of everything, because I can't get on my tablet. So you're going to have to follow the directions that I gave, which was you have to close everything off. You need to go into Zoom. You need to go into the webinar of Divine Masculine and Feminine Rising, go live. I will get Tamika to re-enter in about 3-4 minutes. And then you need to click on record to either your computer or to the cloud. And then you need to click on, in the same section, go live to Facebook, change the settings through my Facebook, make sure it's going live to the Divine Masculine and Feminine Rising page, and then you should have access to add her as a panelist.
thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you. As quickly as possible, because Tamika otherwise will have her time.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you so much, Alyssa, for sharing.